Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillah Allah Ta'ala, everybody's in the best state of Iman, feeling good and good health and everything like that. Alhamdulillah. So, I want to touch a very small subject, but it's major. And, alhamdulillah, man. So, and this isn't no shot, but I'll say for 2 weeks straight, 2 different gatherings where I'm around one individual, I'm on the phone with one individual in this city. And this individual is talking to me about, alhamdulillah, the brother wears thobes. Sometimes it's the African form, but it's still, I like to say, what has been legislated. It's in accordance with what has been legislated in Islam, whether it has the African print, whether it's just plain with no print as far as the Saudi, or whether it's the Indo-Pakistani split, where, their view, where they had like the splits down the side for the men. It's basically like a thobe, but it's split down the side, which they just refer to as a kameez, a big shirt, a real big shirt. So, and this is what my main topic is this. Sometimes, man, we weaken Islam and the Muslims out of fear that we have of practicing the Sunnah, or the disregard that we have that the Sunnah isn't real, the Sunnah is superstition, that stuff came 4,000. This stuff that I done heard, that stuff done came 2,000-3,000 years after the Prophet. How could it be 2-something thousand years and we ain't even 1,500 years away from the Rasul yet? We still at like this year's like what, 1448, 49? Hold on, let me double check real quick, man. And see, I want to be just. Man, we in 1445. So where y'all getting this stuff was written 2,000 years after the Rasul? We only in 1445. Well, alhamdulillah. So after the Hijrah, this after the Hijrah. So there's another 13 years before Hijrah. We only 1445 after Hijrah. So there's another 13 years added to that. And then I hear 200 years, 400 years, any type of excuse to practice Islam the way I want to practice. And the thing that I hate in Illinois, this terminology, which they easing away from it, practicing a version of Islam for black people. Then they started to change it to modern times. This version of practicing Islam for modern times. So basically, a brother is talking to another brother who I heard with my own ears talk about how he don't feel comfortable in thobes. When he go to the store, he feel like everybody is staring at him. What if somebody try to fight him? And he not a little guy. And he caused a lot of problems. But it's always with people who he feel like don't have the right to put their hands on him because they Muslim and he Muslim too. But you had this fear of wearing a thobe. I feel uncomfortable. He have a problem wearing his pants above his ankles and feel like Although hadith is superstition, he feel like he has a hadith to show the permissibility of wearing his pants below his ankles, right? But this isn't just him. I'm just saying this was the conversation. So I know the weakness that this person has, because when the community got to the point where everybody was wearing thobes, he started wearing them because it was what everybody was doing. But he didn't have the comfortability of doing it alone. So, and I knew him as a kid. When Michael Jackson was around, my man was keeping his pants above his ankles with glitter socks and stuff, trying to be like Michael Jackson. You would do it for Michael Jackson, but you won't do it for the demon. So he tells this individual, if the Prophet Muhammad was in Alaska, would he wear thobes? If Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Alaska, he's definitely going to wear what's legislated. He's definitely going to wear what's legislated. On top of that, people don't understand, man, like this type of stuff, these type of things, creating false narratives and using the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, these type of things take you out of the fold of Islam. For one, you don't realize you're making a mockery of the deen. For two, you using this to weaken somebody else who has the heart and courage to walk around in thobes when you don't. Now you trying to put a stop to what he doing. He has the heart to walk around with his pants above his ankles and you don't. But now you trying to put some weakness in him so that you don't look as bad for being a coward. And now you wanna start to try to put smut on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as in if the Rasulullah was in Alaska, he wouldn't wear what was legislated. If the Rasul was in Alaska, he wouldn't do what Allah commanded him to do. And you putting this stuff in the mindset of other Muslims. Of course he's going to have some coats and different things on. Ain't nobody just going to walk around with a thobe on and nothing under it or nothing covering their body anywhere where it's cold. And even to go as far as to say, okay, no, the thobes didn't necessarily look like this in they damn time because the way they sewed, but it's definitely some similarity. It ain't that far-fetched. They didn't have different sewing machines and different things, so I won't really go into that, but people want to go in and say, oh, what a thobe one. It was still a thobe. You know how go into the hadiths and look at the Arabic. You see what I'm saying? But you trying to weaken people. But all of them had this narrative of weaken people. So the individual talking to me about it. So that was one weekend. Then we come up to just this weekend, and we sitting in a group, and one individual says, now the youth, the young people who come in the Islam, and like I say, when they was coming and I'm around, occasionally a couple of the youth, every time they came, they had on a thobe and kufi. Every time they came to the class, they had on a thobe and a kufi. Every time they came, they had something that affiliated them with Islam. But I'm going to keep it to the term Sharia based. They had on something that was legislated. Then the other ones didn't. So now they asking other brothers, well, why other people dressing this way and other people ain't? Now they got to give them something from, which I'm going to keep it all the way Dougie, man, a point of weakness. Because they've involved themselves with individuals who speaking from weakness, which came from the origins of some individuals who came from the Nation of Islam, who dubbed all this stuff as Arab clothes and Arab culture. It has nothing to do with Islam. How don't have anything to do with Islam when it's what's legislated in Sharia, and the lack of understanding of ilm keeps them from understanding that properly, so they spread that. So now, instead of associating yourself with something that's considered to be Arab clothes and not Islamic clothing, now you have to keep the culture of what we consider to be black culture and call that the dress of the Muslim. Whatever we want to do that's considered black is fine. So they answering from a point of extreme weakness, because it started, the root of it was, we not gonna do none of that because it's Arab. Then the ones, when it started to get to the point where some of the youth came in, and then people started to do it, and these ones who come up under this War of Deen Act, now when they started to do it, because now more people in the community is doing it, they feel weird. Like wallahi, they would do stuff like, they were scared to wear their kufi. So they would take their kufi off and put it in a glove compartment or in their back pocket, and then when they pull up into the masjid, ain't nobody around, they'll hurry up and put it on. Or either they'll walk in the masjid, and when they get in the lobby, they'll put it on. Or they'll have a throw and in a car, and then when they get to the masjid, they'll hurry up and throw it on and walk in. But and this is not a speculation. They would talk about it and why they would do it. Not saying that this particular thing has to be mandatory, right? But this is the issue. Individuals who scared to do it, feel uncomfortable with doing it, they instill weakness into other people so that they won't do it, when they could be doing something that's legislated. And I'll touch the legislation in just 1 second. The influence is this. When you go to a city like Philly, and everybody say, oh, Philly, or just the East Coast, Jersey, oh, Philly, we want to be like Philly, they got it, because they don't weaken the deen. You got to the point where so many people look like Muslims, the kuffar, where they pants above their ankles. The Muslim men out there that ain't even Muslim, growing what they consider to be a Sunni beard. You might even see them running around with something over their head, and they not even Muslim. Big dashikis. But it's legislated like a thobe because the way that it covers the body. And they not even Muslim. You got non-Muslim women out there wearing earth wraps and different things to cover their hair and their neck. Running around with clothes where none of their skin is showing. Because they've been influenced by the Muslims. How can you want the same thing, but y'all want to weaken the deen? So, one, before I get into what's legislated, I want to speak on 2 hadiths that people keep mixing. And when they advising these youth or these new Muslims that's coming into the community, they putting them in the fire. And for some strange reason, because they had this notion hadith is superstition. If you've been Muslim 28 years, but for 20 of them, 18 of them, hadith superstition, hadith this, hadith that. But then when it started to be cool to use the word hadith, they use the word hadith. They may even text somebody a hadith every once in a while, but deep down in here, they don't believe in them. But this stuff show you how it weakens the community. So they'll say, I don't have to wear my pants above my ankles because I'm not doing it out of arrogance. Alright, cool. And then they may have some people who have different legislations. Oh, well, if it ain't arrogant, you don't have to do it, and this and that. Let me show y'all how they mixing 2 hadiths. I really could just use Nasa'i, but I want to use Tirmidhi and I want to use Nasa'i. Like, I like to show these some love, right? So right here, this one is said about what has been related about it being disliked. So by them putting dislike, that's trying to change, in the English, that's trying to change it to a category of makruh. Now, why they changed it to a category of makruh? because depending on the circumstances. But listen, and then I'm gonna explain why it's not makruh. But I'm saying, not saying they saying, because they put the word dislike in English, an English reader will come and say it's just disliked, it's makruh. And I'm saying this because I've heard it said by foreigners. And as long as you're not doing it out of arrogance, it don't matter. But let's look at the whole hadith. So this Abdullah bin Umar narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, on the day of judgment, Allah will not look at the one who arrogantly drags his garment. So one, by Allah not looking at you, there's a punishment attached to it. So therefore it can never be makruh. There's a punishment, the punishment where like Allah not gonna look at you on the day of judgment. That's harsh when you know everything that comes along with that. Now this is dragging the garment. This was based on, and what they meant out of arrogantly, at the time when people used to wear big robes, and like sometimes you can see it right now with certain women with wedding dresses. But anyway, they would have big robes and different things, and it may be made of silk. You could still see, like, anybody go look at like pictures of like old kings or whatever. They would have like their robes so long that it's dragging on the back of the ground. Karun, the person in the Quran ayat that the earth swallowed up, this is how he used to do his clothes. So when you go and look at the rest of hadiths, it referred to like if you got a turban and you got it tied up, but you got the back of it so long that it's dragging on the ground, you fall in that category. So that right there alone should let you know this isn't just referring to whether your pants should be above your ankle or not. If you have an extremely big shirt and it's coming down and it's dragging on the ground, it's falling in that category. So it's more than just pants, this category. If you got like a fresh coat, some fresh material, some fresh clothes, and I've seen people do this. They used to do it when I was in school. I've seen people outside of school do it, like they might get a little hot or something, and then they might take their coat or their jacket off, and let's say the coat costs a couple of $100. They might be walking around letting the coat drag on the ground, just letting people know, I got money. This coat don't mean nothing to me. That also falls in the category. Because you feel like it's fresh. Now, in Sharia base, what also can be considered to be arrogance is refusing to do what the truth tell you. Right? So now, because I want to shorten this video because I got to get ready for work, but let's just bring it to simple terms. What does your pants, even just being at your ankle, have to do with dragging on the ground? Nothing. So therefore, these isn't the exact same hadith. So for the ones who want to sit down and say, because of them not reading anything and then listening to certain people say stuff and then coming up with some type of thing to weaken it, because for one, they don't have the courage to do it. See, when you coming from a point of cowardice, and then trying to instill it into people, that's a different thing. That has nothing to do with it. So let's move forward to the actual ruling on that. So they using that as an excuse for the pants to be above. Even if your pants come at your ankle or right below your ankle, what does that have to do with dragging on the ground? Nothing. So they mixing things, but this is the crazy part about it. Like I said, these things is being mixed, not because they read, not because they study, because they went and looked it for a loophole as an excuse to get out of doing something that they scared to do. Oh man, my pants above my ankle, man, I feel weird. People cracking jokes talking about you flooding. So what? So they go and try to internet and Google and come up with stuff, and then they mix different rulings based off of how somebody put it on the internet. Let's look at the hadith about it. And this ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it, right? Right here. I'm going to use this one, which there's a couple. But I want to use a couple of specific ones, right? So where should the lower garment come to, right? Where should the lower garment come? This was narrated by Hudayfa. Hudayfa said, the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, the lower garment should come to the middle of the shins and the calf. If you insist to have it lower, then a little lower is fine. And if you must, now that like there's some things, there may be, this is where some of the ulama, different things come up with different rulings, like as far as you at work and you working around some type of things where you know what I'm saying? So you can get it a little lower. So like circumstances call for it. And if you insist, then a little bit further down, right? But the lower garment has no right to come to the ankle. To the ankle. This don't have nothing to do with pride. This don't have nothing to do with arrogance. It ain't saying the one who does it out of that and this and that, but I'm going to go further. So this is the ruling. Where should the lower garments come to? To the shins and the calf. That's the first. And this is coming from Rasulullah. This is what, when they asking him what's supposed to be done in accordance with this, this is what he gives them. So this is legislated, right? When he's saying there's no right for your pant, your lower garment, whether it's an izar, whether it's a thobe, whether it's some pants, whether it's jogging pants, they have absolutely no right to come to the ankle. No ifs, ands, buts, or babies. So then you could go into some of the things, right? But I'm going to skip through that, some of the rulings, right? But look, then it also says, the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, whatever of the lower garment comes below the ankle, it's in the fire. It's in the fire. Not if it's dragging on the ground. So the ruling where it says the punishment is for keeping the lower garment below the ankles, right? Even if it is done without the sense of vain or conceit. So that means even if it's done whether you being arrogant or not, this ain't dragging on the ground. This is below your ankle. This is below your ankle. So the arrogant, the little theory that people try to come up with and the excuses because they don't want to have their pants above their ankle and they trying to mix hadiths, they falling into error. And not only is they falling into error, they spreading this error. And like I say, when you falling into this error and spreading this error, especially if it's based off the person or people that's spreading it, because they don't have the heart and the courage to do it and act up on it, I don't like how it look. You too arrogant to do it. You got too much arrogance. You got too much pride to do what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. You got too much pride. You don't like how it look. Ain't that arrogance? But the further on, it also says, and this is just pants, this any lower garment, right? Then it says, except for the waist wrapper, which falls below the ankle once in a while, without the intent of the realization. So what it's referring to is when Abu Bakr used to have his izar on, and he was so thin he could only tie it up so much. So sometimes when he was walking around, it would fall below his ankle just a little bit. And then when he would realize it, he would pull it back up, and it wasn't falling under both, it would fall on one side. Me, because of where I work at, and then we switched to different companies, and then so much stuff started going on, the company we work for started to get a little bit stricter. And they had a couple of explosions and this and that. So anyway, I have pants, fatigues, real big, real baggy, where you can't see the shape of my body. And then I still have shirts, long sleeve shirts that's long enough that they come past my bottom and my private parts when I'm wearing them. They don't come right here to my waist. And they just as big as this. Like real talk, I can wear comfortably, I can wear 2X shirts. My shirts be 4X and 5X. Then some of my winter shirts, I get a 3X so that I can wear it under the 5X and a 6X hoodie. So my shirts don't come right here. You understand? So I have pants, army fatigues, that have ties. I tie them up all the way up here. Now sometimes as I get to moving around the day, it'll start to hang down. But when I'm at work, I have real high boots. When I'm walking around, I have real high tennis shoes. I mainly wear the Patrick Ewing joints, right? So the top of it will touch the top of the shoe. So to somebody who looking, this is a high top, and looking for something to be weak in me, they'll say, well, his pants is below his ankle. These high tops, they ain't even lower than the top of the high top. All high tops come above the ankle. My boots just as high as the high top or higher. So I'm still within legislation, and because I'm in a factory, and you can't walk around in long flannel and stuff like this, but my clothes be big. Now, when it comes to legislators as far as a throw, when I stand up, you can't see no prints of my private part. You can't even see the design of what my hips look like. I ain't finna turn to the back, but you can't really see the shape. You can't see if I got muscles. You can't see none of my muscle tone. None of that. That's what's legislated in the deen. So if you're gonna have people running around in skinny sweatpants, right, where they standing up, and this is, and now we finna get to the deen part. Skinny jeans, skinny sweatpants, right? And they coming up with all these, and then t-shirts that come right here that fit their body perfectly, where you can see if they got muscles in their stomach or not. They can't do this. They can't do this in it. But because of due to certain weaknesses, and then we'll go even worse. So with these type of things, now you got people, and I see it all the time, you got people with these type of clothes on, feeling like it's perfectly fine. We might be in a gathering, and as soon as they stand up, they belly button and the top of their drawers and all that stuff is showing. That's nudity. This stuff protects you from that. Big shirts protect you from that. But they want to have their shirt come right to the top of their pants or their sweater. Everything come right here. Nothing hangs below that, whether they got on a jogging suit, sweatpants, skinny jeans, or whatever it is that they got on. Now, when you go in and pray with them, and I'm going to be honest, I be having an issue with this. When they have these type of clothes on, I see it all the time. When they go in and start praying, and then they go into ruku like this, all part of their butt crack be showing, they draw. This stuff is nudity. It's nudity. Then they go down into ruku. You in ruku. I mean, you in sajda with your forehead. I ain't gonna go all the way down because I'll be out of video. Your forehead on the ground, all your butt crack and stuff showing, and you standing before Allah Azza wa Jal. But the problem is, because they can't sit down and tell these kids what's legislated, and then they running around talking them out of dressing like this. And then one of them even had a valid point to say, well, if you was dressed like this, would you go in a liquor store? Would you go to filthy places? These is young people that still frequenting that. Why have them take that off? Once you convince them to take this stuff off, maybe they're going to start going back to them places. This is what I'm saying that's weakening them. So you sitting up in Jumar service. You got 4, 5 shorties. You might even have a person who's sitting up giving a khutbah and some same similar type stuff. And then all of them sit down and go into sajda, and you can see every last one of them butt cracking draws. That's nudity. If it's below the belly button, it's nudity. Some of them even wear jeans with the holes and stuff in it. Holes all in the knees, hole coming all up to here. That's nudity. It's nudity. How you gonna stand up in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, in front of Azza wa Jal, and you going into ruku and sajda with your butt crack and drawers showing? Because you don't want to wear what's legislated. This is Arab clothes. No, this right here is to protect you from all of that. So and then that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna talk to people up out of it, at least tell them when you go and make salat, put one of these on. If you're not gonna have on big enough, baggy enough clothes, t-shirts, my stuff long sleeve. I don't even wear short sleeve shirts, right? Occasionally, like if I'm cutting the grass 6 in the morning, nobody out, I might have on a short sleeve shirt, or I might dip out somewhere around real quick. But usually, I'm always in long sleeve stuff. I'm always in big clothes. If they not gonna have big shirts that at least come to here, when they at least go in a ruku like this, they boxers and butts not gonna be showing. You see what I'm saying? Some of these grown people who be showing up, that's instilling this weakness in them, when they stand up, they be having to do their shirt like this. They little jogging shirts and all this and this and that. My bruh, that's nudity. That's nudity. And you standing up before Allah Azza. And some of these young cats, see, just to show how the deen is getting weakened, we know about images, especially images of people who have died on clothes. Right? We ain't gonna go into the real deep rulings of this and that. And I'm not gonna pick out specific people, because I don't want nobody to take it personal. But I'm gonna say somebody like Adolf Hitler. Somebody who like Adolf Hitler, who was a real evil man, a real wicked individual, who I feel like Allah Azza wa Jal wasn't pleased with, right? Imagine you got on an Adolf Hitler shirt that come to right here. Like even with me standing up, whether this was all black or not, you can't even tell where my belly button start or where it ends. You can't even tell where my waistline is. This is what's legislated. The same thing that applies for the sisters goes for the brothers. You understand what I'm saying? Just like with women now, even with the ruling, with the pants, the Rasul gave them a concession where it could come down lower, because a lot of the women wore sandals and you could see their feet. If you got on shoes where your feet can't be seen, we talking about the bare feet where people can see your toenails, not they can see your shoes. That's not your feet, that's your shoes. You don't have to have this big thing, so really the garment should come, but like if they toes out, they got somewhat of a concession so that their feet can be covered. Because why? They have a legitimate excuse. But this is for the women, not the men, if they feet showing. But if you got on shoes and your feet, this stuff is covered, you don't want to have these big long draping things. And like I say, because of the people not really look at it, some of the sisters do go past what's legislated. I'm just gonna keep it 100. Out of ignorance of not reading and not studying and being what's told. When you just go and look at it, So, back to the point. You got these young brothers, pants below their ankle, which all of, when it comes to the madhabs, they all agree that it's sinful. They all agree that it take away from your salat because you praying in sin. But they have a difference in opinion on what the punishment is. Because what if not only is it below your ankle, the back of your pants is also dragging on the back of the ground with dirt and mud on it. And they some couple $100, $3,000, $1,500 jeans, and you just like, I don't care, there ain't nothing, I got money. Now you also falling into the category of the ones that Allah is not going to look at, because now you letting your clothes drag on the ground. Even if you done went through the thing like they do here, they even roll them up, feeling like they're in accordance of the sunnah, but the back of it is still dragging around, dirt and mud all on the back of their pants. And now you finna come stand in a masjid and they want to talk about shoes. Oh, if somebody had on shoes, would you take your shoes off? The back of your pants got the same dirt and mud and stuff on it that you dragging into the masjid. What about that? And then somebody got to come put their face. You sitting around, y'all want to sit around and talk about the regular ground outside break wudu if you put your feet on it, but I can let the back of my pants drag all on the ground and in the dirt and have mud and rainwater all on the back of them, even though I rolled them up. It's below your ankles. Anything below the ankles in the fire. No ifs, ands, buts about it, whether you're doing out of arrogance or not. Now, if they dragging on the ground, you done fell into a whole nother category. People keep trying to mix the two, looking for an excuse to get out of doing the other. Now, back to the point about Adolf. Let's say I got Adolf Hitler on my shirt. And this is the part where they lose it. I'm in the masjid for Jummah before Allah Azza wa Jal, Takbir, Allahu Akbar, with Adolf Hitler on my shirt. With Adolf Hitler on my shirt. Allahu Akbar, with Adolf Hitler on my shirt. Now I'm going to use Adolf Hitler as an example because I don't want to offend these individuals who be having their favorite basketball player, football player, rapper. You know what I'm saying? Some of these rappers who rapping about killing bees, hoes, you know, whatever under the sun that they can speak of, who didn't even live a life. They only lived a life that was pleasing the shaitan. And now, and unfortunately, cool, you went and bought a shirt with that person on it. But what about the ones who make the shirts and put those people on it? What the hadith say about them that put these images on them? Now you falling into a whole nother category. Now imagine you make that shirt for yourself, then you put it on, then you go stand before Allah Azza wa Jal with a despicable individual in the eyes of Allah on your shirt doing this. Allahu Akbar. Where's your akal? But because they want to convince these kids, it don't matter what you got on. That's just Arab stuff. This stuff is perfectly fine. No, it ain't. Y'all sitting up in sajda, takbiring before Allah with a despicable person on your shirt. Al Capone. You know, like I say, I'm just going to use different names. We talking about people who done passed away. Now, some of these people who are still alive, and you may have, like, we'll just say LeBron James on your shirt. LeBron James' affair hasn't been decided because he hasn't passed away. They might end up being like a loon. They might end up being like Muta. They might end up converting to Islam and being like one of the best people around, an extremely good Muslim. They might be like a Malcolm X, whether people feel about him or not. They might go from Dirty Red to El Hajj Malik Shabazz. So that, but some of these people who they got on their shirt is passed away. They're dead. They died on Kufr. They died in the state of Kufr. And y'all sitting up with them on y'all shirt talking about Allahu Akbar. And then going into sajda with your butt crack and drawers and everything showing, with a shirt that comes right here. And then every single time, cats be cracking up talking about, man, my shirt comes below my belly button. But every time you stand up, all this below your belly button up to your pants is showing. You got to do your shirt like this. As a grown man, you got to do your shirts and sweater like this. That's nudity. That's nudity. And then coming, imagine you coming up out of ruku, and then as you stand back up, whether you takbir or not, some people don't takbir, but some people do. They come up to takbir, you go into takbir like this, Allahu Akbar, and then your little shirt that's so perfectly fitting coming to the top of your waist come up and show right here beneath your belly button. That's nudity. And I see people do it. I watch people do it. Then you go into ruku, now your butt crack, the top of your butt crack and boxers and all stuff showing, and you got a despicable individual on your shirt. Then you go into sajda talking about, I'm in the best position before Allah, with your butt crack showing. Then this is the problem. Now y'all instilling that stuff into them youngins and letting them feel like it's cool to dress that way because you can't say nothing that goes against yourself. You can't say nothing that goes against yourself. And like I say, looking at, if all you do is look at the hadiths, even when you look at certain hadiths, you can't pray with your shoulders out. You see people coming in, basketball shorts and a wife beater, shoulders all out. Even if they're at home, make us a lot with wife beaters on, shoulders up. Allahu Akbar. Imagine praying 5 times a day. Well, maybe not Fajr. Cats get up and pray Fajr, right? And then I say a figure that was here, and I'm not speaking on him because he done passed away, and I don't want to speak on him in a bad light. But a polarizing figure out here in Illinois that's no longer living was a guy named Willie Lloyd, but everybody referred to him as Willie Lord, right? He was a chief of a vice lord section. Well, he was actually a king, right, of a vice lord section. So he called people to gang banging, killing, murder, dope selling, fornication, right? But he was also what? Muslim. And some of his literature, he put Al-Fatiha and everything in it. But what he calling you to? But now because you have love for Willie Lloyd, well, I'm going to call him Willie Lord. But because you have all this love for Willie Lord, you go and get one of his old pictures off the internet and have somebody print him up on a shirt for you. Willie Lord. And then you standing before Allah doing that. Allahu Akbar. And then while you got the shirt on, you do this part of your shirt, because it only comes right here to where your waist start. And then you can see the whole form of your waist and your side of your hips and all, the side of this and everything. And then when you takbir like this and go Allahu Akbar, it raises up. It raises up where you can see your underwear. You can see pure nudity. Then you fold down, or you had to pull it back down. Then you go into ruku, and then your butt crack and stuff is showing. Then you come down, then you come back up, whether you takbir or not or do this, your shirt raised back up to some more nudity. Then you go down and put your forehead on the ground and sajda, making dua and all these beautiful things you begging Allah for while your butt crack is out. Because your shirt's so little and slim, and it got a pure deviant person who did the work of the shaitan all on your shirt. And now the new breeds of Muslims is coming in under the same act. Mess around and catch them with a shirt with Young Thug on it, Lil Durk. These King Von, other people who accepted Islam just the same as Willie Lloyd. And now they all in the masjid in Jumu'ah service looking at somebody, you know what I'm saying? A'udhu billah min dhalik, man. So I had to touch on it, man, because it be blowing my mind, man, that and I'm sitting up saying, I'm knowing, I ain't gonna say all of them, but I do remember a time some of these cats, they listened to a lecture, man, by Abu Toba about who was your allegiance to. And Abu Toba was talking about how we need to get away from that so-called our culture, that niggerdom, and why we need to start wearing this and how it's legislated. And one thing he's saying there is, man, don't nobody want to see your butt. Little sweatpants and stuff, man, they get on like this, man. And they shirt coming right here, looking like pants be on them, man, about as tight as Daisy Dukes be on women. What they used to call them, Daisy Dukes. Cats sitting up there, man, looking like they got on a long version of Daisy Dukes. And it tripped me out, man, because every time I see one of them cats, it blow my mind that, like, if I'm behind them and we walking out, guess what I see? The back of they boxers. The back of they boxers. You know what I'm saying? And I just sit down like, especially if you was an individual that knew better. But now you clicked up with these individuals. Now those is this and all this other stuff, man. When you know in the deen, what do they say, man? One of the worst things that can happen to a Muslim is when you result back to kufr. You gonna sit up there and just result back to kufr? So cool. In the deen, yeah, you can wear pants. They usually translate them as trousers. Yeah, you can wear you some trousers, but guess what? Them mugs better not be below your ankle. Well, you gonna be in the fire, Jack. If your heart pump a little Kool-Aid, just get them right there at the very tip. If your heart pump a little Kool-Aid, I don't care if some of your favorite imams and YouTube figures might done got to the point where they got some skinny jeans on and pants below their ankle. That's their business. That don't mean it's what's supposed to be done. You know what I'm saying? Then like I say, and then if it's standing up and you must to see the whole shape of how your leg is, and every time you stand up, all this right here below your navel and stuff showing to here, that's nudity. That's nudity. Your pants and stuff, man, hugging your body. Cats looking like they got on some Daisy Duke pants when they stand up. Boxer all up out of their shirt. And then y'all sitting up teaching new Muslims and young people that this is the haqq. Because the majority of them don't have enough courage to go anywhere in a thobe. Man, I feel weird. I feel like everybody's looking at me. What if the kuffar try to attack me? But they expect their wife to go out alone. Won't even go grocery shopping with them. Wives don't even know it. I had to sit around and listen to these brothers talk like this. Wives, hey baby, you want to go to the store? No, the game on. They come up with 1,000,001 excuses. Wife going out covered up, looking like a nun and looking like all type of stuff, man. Legislated. Done had 1,000,001 arguments about jeans and jeans too snug and all that. But then it's cool for their jeans to fit the same way as these on them that the jeans couldn't fit on their wife. What if she get attacked? What if something happened to her? And a lot of these brothers had kids with these women. These kids with the women. You can't go to the store with them. Going to the store with them dressed like a rapper. with some type of misdeviant, dysfunct individual society that called people to murdering, gang banging, and dope selling through records and movies or whatever their thing was. A whole life of partying and being sinful. On their clothes, and then they separate from their wife in the store because they too embarrassed to walk around with them. And I'm not just making an assumption. These is things that they done said out of their mouth. Pants all below their ankle in the fire, and then even worse, sometimes dragging all on the back of the ground. Pants dragging all on the back of the ground while your butt crack is still showing at the same time. It's crazy. It's crazy. But then on top of that, they might have something that affiliates them with Islam, like a baseball cap with a gold Allah symbol on it. A gold Allah symbol. Or a gold Allah necklace. They got a gold Allah necklace sitting over an image of Young Thug. Young Thug taking up this much of their shirt. Then they got a gold Allah emblem sitting up on top of Young Thug shirt, on top of Young Thug face, while their pants is below their ankles and sometimes dragging on the ground. And then if they talk beer, you can see all from below here. And they talking about if the Rasul was in Alaska, he'll be dressed just like us. Well, you sound like you need to be in a mental hospital. And now they instilling this stuff in these youngins because they hard pump Kool-Aid. And then when I come around, these individuals, and they see me like this, they want to say something to the youngins like, oh, well, he only doing that because he come around with y'all. The only time when I don't have these on, when I'm not dressed like this or some form of this, is when I'm at work. And like I say, all my clothes is big, and all my shirts, everything, he either got Hadith disciples on them, some of them so old where it done washed off, some type of Islamic institute, something that's going to affiliate me with the deen. Now I will say this, I'm into Patrick Ewing. Like I used to have some Jordan shoes and different, like the sweatpants and stuff that came below my ankle. Wallahi, I would cut the Jordan emblem off of it if I was going to make salat in them. I'm look right here. I'm in the Patrick Ewing shoes because I like how high they come up and support the ankles, right? Right here, this was an image of the So Def dude. I blacked all that out. I blacked all that out. You know what I'm saying? So, and I might even just take some and razor that part off. But I blacked that stuff out. And them on my shoes. And then they don't be in certain parts of my Musala areas. But the thing is, some of these people, man, have these type of different shirts and all this stuff, man, hanging up all in their house, man. What that's gonna do when it comes to the angels? And like I said, man, imagine that. And now they instilling this stuff, man, into young people, man. But man, let me get ready for work, man. And that's not just here, it's everywhere. And when you look at the root, it started from individuals who wanted to say hadiths is superstition, that's Arab religion, that's Arab culture, anything to dissociate them. They actually do wala wa bara from the deen instead of doing wala al bara from kufr. How you gonna do wala al bara from the deen? Oh, well, these hadiths is superstition, but there's a hadith that say, as long as your pants not below the ankle out of arrogance, you're not doing it. Don't say that. It don't say that. Now it is implied, but your pants can, if they come past it and this and that, whether you being arrogant or not, it's in the fire. No ifs, ands, buts, or maybes, question this and that. Y'all mixing two different things. Because you're so weak, you trying to figure out how to get out of something, but guess what you done did? You done jumped right in this fire that Shaitan wants you to be in with an excuse. And then you know, a couple of these Muslims around here, and this just goes to show you, man, the thing about bid'ah. We all know that bid'ah, what? Every single religious bid'ah leads to the hellfire. Now you can sit down and they say, you can sit down and say, hey, what do bid'ah lead to? They know how to answer the question. Man, all bid'ah leads to the hellfire. If a Muslim call you to bid'ah, what he calling you to? He calling you to the hellfire, right? If a Muslim call you to bid'ah, he's calling you to the hellfire. But then, I done heard 3 of them, and the beautiful part is one of them used to be around me, and they never said this. But then when they started sitting around the other ones, who started to say, man, how on earth can a Muslim call another Muslim to the hellfire? Now, then all of a sudden, it became a thought of theirs. That wasn't a thought of yours before. That wasn't a thought of yours before, but you sat up around them. And let me tell you how. If you call another Muslim to wearing their pants below their ankles, whether it's dragging on the street or not, guess what you call them to? The hellfire. If you call some other Muslims to making salat with some shirts that only come to right here, and when they talk beer and it raise up and their nudity is showing, and then to take it even further, they got a despicable human being in the eyes of Allah all on their shirt, talk beering, standing before Allah like that, and then going in the ruku and they stuff is this and that because you telling them it's fine to dress that way, ain't nothing wrong with it. Guess what you done called them to? The hellfire. The hellfire. And I hate to say it, man. Every time I listen to him speak, man, the hadith come to my head, man. A day is going to come where ignorant people gonna ask ignorant Muslims questions and they gonna answer it. And I notice they always answer based off of some form of defense. I'm defending the kufr that I'm up on. And it ain't no knock to him, man. Like it's crazy to sit in a room full of Muslims listening to them talk, and then you sitting up saying to yourself, man, I'm gonna go to the hellfire sitting around listening to them. I gotta get out of here. Because like your Quran ayah say, man, if you sitting around a group of people and they starting to talk about the Quran and talking about the deen in a certain type of way, you have to remove yourself from that. I'm sitting around like, man, I'm gonna go to the hellfire listening to them. Oh, the Carter, you don't know what you're talking about, man. Cats gold, all our pendants, sitting all up on a picture of Adolf Hitler. Talking about they standing before Allah, raising their hands like this, and then their nudity is showing. Come on, man, where's your Islamic dignity? And then the crazy part is, not even an inkling of a pinch of a thought as thin as a hair comes across their mind that they possibly doing something wrong. They even take it a step even further and justify it. So news flash, because I don't know who all listen to this. If your pants is below your ankle, they in the fire, B. They in the fire. And then if it go even further to the point where it's actually dragging on the ground, especially if it's some expensive type jeans, to the point where you be like, man, I got money, I don't care about my clothes dragging like that. We know how we is. You putting yourself in a whole nother category. These 2 different categories, but you can fall into both categories with one action if you're not careful. How's y'all sitting up doing wala wal bara from the deen? That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Man, assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.